Well, it's Mike Matthews, the host of the longest-running self-produced daily podcast on planet Earth. It is called Mike's Daily Podcast Show. No, wait, it's just called Mike's Daily Podcast. And it's episode 2985. Well, I did not know who this Kylie Kelsey, is that it? She's big, really big. And when I say my podcast is called Mike's Daily Podcast, well, there it is right there in the name, podcast. And she is supposedly number one. She has beat Joe Rogan. She is at the top spot on Apple Podcasts. The show, pardon me, I got in a little fight with the boom on my mic. That's why they call it a boom. The show is touted to have 25 million audio downloads and social media views in its first week. And it has resulted in Dunkin' Donuts, or are they just called Dunkin'? Because they don't want to be known for just donuts. They got sandwiches now and stuff. But donuts, they're bad for you. Oh, really bad. That's not a good idea at all. And the older you get, the more you go, wow. When you eat one donut, you're like, oh, I can't do anything the rest of the day. You have a high, a sugar high, and then bam, you crash. So a few weeks ago, her husband is dead, Jason Kelsey, and his brother Travis Kelsey. They have that New Heights podcast that I thought that was number one on Spotify. I don't know. It's hard to tell anymore, and who really cares? But he said, I don't know if you guys are seeing, but my wife Kylie has the number one podcast in the world right now on Apple Podcasts. And they joked that Kylie never asked them for advice on her new venture. During a recent episode, Kylie opened up about some of the backlash she's faced since starting her podcast. This was just in November, and she's already number one, sharing that, quote, the most common questions recently associated with not gonna lie. That expression, by the way, has been overused since it first emerged 20 years ago. And she said the most common question has been, who the bleep is Kylie Kelsey? She added that another common comment she gets from critics is how she's an, quote, amateur podcaster. So there you go. Podcasting has turned into the great equalizer. People you never heard of have become these super, I don't know if they're millionaires. I don't know if they're making a ton of money off of this, but they're getting certainly very well known. And anybody, just the person that lives right next door to you could become the next big podcaster, the next big thing, which in the beginning, I thought was a great idea. When I first started podcasting back in 2008, I was like, okay, this is great. Everybody can talk. Everybody can open up the microphone and record and be heard by all these listeners and they don't have to deal with the radio. They can open it up to the internet and everyone can hear them. You don't need a transmitter. But at the same time, some of these people shouldn't be heard. I'm not saying that about Kylie, but you know who I'm talking about. There's probably a podcaster, maybe not the one you're listening to right now, hopefully, but I'm sure there are others that you've been like, wait, what? How did that happen? You know what is going to happen now is Mike is going to open the door and we're going to walk into Café Anyway. After you. Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to Café Anyway, somewhere in podCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. It is episode Mike's Daily Podcast 2985, and you and I are alive. I guess since you're listening to this, I think that we're alive, and it's 2025, and people are dancing and happy, and they try to do all these things, but they don't know Mike's Daily Podcast what's going to happen. Will Bitcoin go all the way to $200,000 this year? Mike's investors Daily are predicting podcast. It broke 100,000 back last month, but then it also dropped quite a bit. So I don't know. Crazy stuff, that Bitcoin. Babies born on New Year's Day in 2025. This past just a few days ago will be the first members of Generation Beta. That's right. We have Alpha and now we have Beta. And that includes children born this year through 2038. Then there's, through 2039, actually. Generation Beta. And I guess Generation Alpha is also Gen Z. Although I've heard that they're two separate generations. So now I'm confused. Then, of course, there's Millennials, Generation X, that's me, and Boomers. And then the Greatest Generation, which I don't know if any of them are still around, but that's how it is. Everybody got to just enjoy the generation in which you are. I was thinking a lot about this and about how, basically 30 years is an entire lifetime. And I can think back to 30 years ago and go, oh my gosh, it feels like it was just yesterday. 30 years ago. And then I got a 40-year, high school reunion coming up in 2 years. Ain't gonna go to that, that's for sure.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Oh, some amazing pictures lately in the podcast picture. We might do the one of me with the horse. The horse known as Dice. Dice lives up in the mountains of PodCastro Valley on some East Bay Regional Park District land. And I was talking to his owner, and he's not too optimistic about Dice's future because of he's got a bunch of leg problems and hip issues, and he's just not healing. So we're doing what we can to help out this horse, but yeah, that was some sad news. The late great Basil the Boxer actually met Dice. In fact, Dice once threatened his life, kind of chased after him. He did not like Basil. I don't think Dice likes dogs in general, but yeah, that was an interesting moment. See a picture of Dice and I at mikesdailypodcast.com. The world's 500 richest people gained $1.5 trillion in 2024. Collectively, all 500 of the richest people, they are worth $10 trillion. And that is the first time they've reached that amount ever. And you and I are entering the quantum era. Not only do we have generation betas being born everywhere, and if they get annoying, we have beta blockers. I guess there's entering the quantum era. It's a question, just rhetorical. Google teased a quantum chip that is said to solve problems in under 5 minutes that today's top computers would take 10 septillion years to work out. 10 septillion. They can do it in 5 minutes. And it's called Willow, is the name of the quantum chip.
Is that why you're bald, Mike?
I'm bald because of a quantum chip? Sure. Oh. Sure, sir. He sounded like a boomer. Hey, that's the thing, is what's happening. And that's what we do on this podcast, is tell you things about what's happening in this great and crazy, big, huge world. Hey, I know, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this right now. Spotify is on a mission. They are trying to, oh my gosh. So one of the platforms I'm on, Spreaker, they sent me an email today. Music detected. Your episode has been removed. See, this is why podcasting is fantastic. You can send your podcast out to all these different platforms. You can upload your podcast to all these different platforms. Videos, and it doesn't take too long. Video, however, takes a while. Most people only use YouTube or TikTok, and they only use those two. And if they get deplatformed by one, like if it gets deplatformed by YouTube, well, there goes any of their long form stuff. And they get deplatformed by TikTok, which I don't know if that happens too much, but then all their short stuff gets...
Danger, Will Robinson, danger!
That gets taken out. And away it goes. And danger, Will Robbins. So, yeah, that was a thing that I saw about how Spotify is trying to get people to do more video stuff on their platform. And that is what that is that. Stupid sayings. It is what it is. A cliche, and I can't stand it. I know it's a deep concept about how something is something and you can't change it, or you're in it and that's the way it goes. That's just the way it is, to quote Bruce Hornsby. But don't you believe him is also what Bruce Hornsby said. So it's a whole concept I rail against. I can't stand that it is what it is. But I don't want to be full of hate, because the more hate you have in your vision, the more your vision...
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
The more your vision becomes myopic, and next thing you know, you're buying Mr. Microphones and trying to tell people you'll be back to pick them up later, and then you'll get arrested, because that's not cool. Will the drink industry, will the hangover for the drink industry, the beverage industry, last through 2025? You know, it is dry January, and alcohol stocks used to be called recession-proof. And, you know, I did not drink, I think, we just had a little bit of wine on New Year's Eve. That's right. We celebrated right at midnight, like just a little touch of it. But as we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike Stilly podcast, somewhere in PodCastro Valley, the land of Ameritopica. Oh, yeah. So we were talking about video with Spotify. I have video on Facebook Live that I do of the podcast, and it is so utterly boring. So to make it more exciting, I have a question hovering over my bald head that says, anyway, what is your spirit animal? And then various animals pop up, like rabbits and panda bears and cats. Oh, and a meerkat, I think. But back to drinking. In 2023, 62% of American adults under 35, so more than half under 35, said they drink alcohol. But that is down from, guess how high it was 20 years earlier? 72%. So it's getting a little bit lower. It went from 72 to 62. In 2023, we saw the first decline in the volume of alcohol and spirits sold in the U.S. in 30 years. The first decline. Remember, it increased during COVID. People stuck at home. They were drinking too much. The beer industry's volume consumption decreased by almost 5% in 2024. And while wine sales were wildly down by almost 10%, and overall spirits, the hard alcohol, was down by 4%. And the negative trend is attempting to go into 2025. They're saying it will move into 2025. So not so much good news.
Mike is awesome.
From that guy right there, Rob Black. I produce his podcast. He's heard on AM 1220 KDOW weekday mornings. And he's on Cron TV Monday through Thursday in the 9 o'clock hour. Okay, I'm going to name a bunch of alcohol brands. You tell me how much of these you actually drink. And if you don't drink any of them, good for you. That's good. Because alcohol is not good for you. It makes you a jerk if you're inclined to become one when you're drunk. But people, there's a myriad of reasons, as you would probably know. You've watched enough movies. You've read enough articles. Watched enough TV to see what the bad things alcohol can do. Not to mention it destroys your liver. And I got someone I work with whose liver, he destroyed it. And basically he almost died a year ago. And his doctor said, hey, if you have one more drink, you're going to die. And that was enough to kick him off the alcohol for over a year now. So congratulations out to him. And he looks a whole lot better. He had gained so much weight drinking alcohol because it turns to sugar. It's horrible for you. I know you know these things, but it just bears repeating. Let's see. Guinness is owned by, how do you say this? Diageo? They also own Johnny Walker and Smirnoff. And they got dozens of other brands. They were down overall 13%.
It's a trap.
It's a trap alcohol is what I'm trying to say. And then Constellation Brands, they have America's most popular beer called Modelo. They were down 7%. Yes, Modelo is the most popular. Then Anheuser-Busch and Coors, they were down way more than both of those. Down by 22%. Anheuser-Busch was. Coors was down by 4%. But did you know that non-alcohol beer volumes rose? Not last year, but the year before. 6%. Last year it rose. There was also 9 non-alcoholic wines. They rose by 7%. And there's non-alcoholic spirits now. That was up by 15%. This was in 2023. We don't have the results yet for 2024, but I will pass them along to you when I get them. Look who's here. Hi, Mark. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How you doing? Hey, it's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Tell you what. What? How was your holiday season and whatnot? It was okay. I got a call from someone. I missed the call, and he left a message, and he said he's one of my employees, and he's going to be leaving at the end of the month, so that was awful news. That was how I started my New Year's Day. He decided on New Year's Day to break this news to me. So nice of him. But
Mike makes music.
Why you gonna leave me? I gotta know why. Silly song I just sang. What song? So he's leaving, and yeah, on a jet plane. No, not that song, but he's taken off and take off to the Great White North. No, he's not doing that either. But yeah, it's sad. It's kind of, it's sad, so sad. The way we talk it over. Sorry seems to be the hardest word. Do you know what song I was thinking about the other day? Just because you asked. Oh, hey, Rocky the cat's here. Hey, you got an added bonus. Here's my real spirit animal right here. Rocky the cat. He's looking right at the camera. Good job, Rocky. That's going to be great video, awful podcast. Audio podcast. I was thinking about a song from 1987, or it might have been 86. Right in the cusp there, let's just say, was a band called Double. And they had this song that went like, ba da 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 da. Da 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 da. Too long ago, too far apart. She couldn't wait another day for. But the captain of her heart. I don't know if you hear that song anymore. But dang, it was a one-hit wonder. That was a true one-hit wonder. And I remember I was interning at a radio station. I believe it was. I think it was a radio station on the Millennium Falcon. No, it was definitely in the mid '80s. And it was called Q105, which later became Q1047. I don't know what it is now. And they had the record. They would give me, because I was interning, as a thanks, they'd give me records. Sometimes they'd forget. And I was always too shy, too introverted to. Isn't that funny? I'm not getting a job in radio and I'm introverted. What was that about? But that's true of a lot of radio people. They were introverted folks, but they like talking on the microphone. Here's the thing. I remember sometimes they didn't give me records, but I saw that record there one week and I didn't ask for it, and the next week it was gone. I know that's the saddest story you ever heard, but Double was the name of that band. It was way past midnight and she still couldn't fall asleep. This time the dream is over. The one she tried to keep. And with the new day dawning, she felt it slipping away. Not only for a cruise, not only for a day. Bum 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 bum. There was a cool saxophone in it. Bum 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 bum. Too long ago, too far apart. She couldn't wait another day for the captain of her heart. Thank you. It's a little bit of singing for you, a little reminiscing about a song that came out probably 40 years ago now. Almost that long, 38, 39 years ago. All right. Someone's pouring me a drink, which sounds like I already had a drink. But don't drink. Don't drink. That's what I'm saying. No doubt. No, but that is... Look who's pouring me a drink.
Hello, Mike. I make delicious root beer. Have some right now.
Thank you so much, Brewmaster. And I'm going to pretend I'm drinking it, but I can't because I got a cat that I'm holding with both hands right now. Rocky the cat.
Yeah, drink right now. Cool.
He forgot his latte.
What's in the root beer is what I usually ask.
Whoa. I put delicious spirits in it. Over.
Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that ghost coming out of there. That's pretty creepy. It's a ghost. All right, we'll fix that in post, hopefully. Okay. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. And if you would like to chime in about anything we covered today, here is the number.
What was that all about?
No, this is the number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame. Thank you so much for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!